Kia ora. My name is Raewyn. I will be your interviewer for today. So I'll just start off with a couple of questions. I'll let you just start off with tell me about yourself and why you're here.
Kia ora, my name is Pouroto Ngaropo. I'm from various tribes throughout New Zealand. Ngāpuhi, Te Rarawa in the north, Maniapoto, Waikato in Tainui, Tauranga Moana, Ngai Te Rangi, Ngāti Ranginui, Ngāti Pukenga. I'm also from Te Puke, Tapuika Waitaha, Tūhaurangi, and also my great-grandfather, who I was brought up and raised as a younger Pouroto, from Rauno Tuiti, Ngāti Pikiao, the tribes of Ngāti Whakaue, Tūhaurangi, Ngāti Rangi Wuwehi, but principally from here, from Mātātua, you know. I have connections to Whanapanui, Tūhoi, but my principal tribe here is Ngāti Awa, Mātātua Canoe. But I also have really strong connections to my English side, Scottish, Irish, French, and my dad is part Cherokee Indian. So that's who I am. Pouroto Nicholas Hamilton Ngaropo is my full name. Pouroto connecting me to my Māori world. Nicholas to my English side of my genealogy. Hamilton to my Scottish side. And then Ngaropo back to my Māori side again. So, yeah, I'm really pleased to be here to talk to you. I'm from Matata. That's my home. I have two beautiful daughters, Rangipare, Te Haiata o Te Rangi Ngaropo, who's recently graduated from Waikato University in social sciences, looking after the environment. So she keeps me on my toes and informed, with all the environmental issues happening around us. And my youngest girl has just turned 13 today. She goes to the local school, Te Kura Kapawa Māori ki Orini ki Ngāti Awa, and so her name is Hine Te Ariki, or Hine Te Ariki i o Maraikura Ngaropo. Live with my mum, looking after each other as our family unit, and living on our family marae down in 244 Withy Road, Manawahe. So that's a little bit about me. I was educated in Rotoma, Kawerau, Matata, and also Auckland, and went to Hatopetera College boarding school, and then I went to pursue education because I really love to teach. Really love interacting with people. So I taught for a few years in Te Puke. Actually, I helped develop our kohanga reo in our family garage. I wanted to take a couple of years off and help my young children to learn their history as being Māori and being proud New Zealanders as well. So I spent time we set up my garage where I taught our kids and our family for a few years there. Then I went back to school teaching in Te Puke, Te Kura Kapawa Māori, as well as mainstream. And then from there I took up a position as a lecturer, Te Wharewa Ngāwa Nuiarangi, finished my degree in education in Māori, and I became a lecturer. And taught Māori history, Māori genealogy, our history and connections to Te Ao Māori, and giving pride and self-esteem to our people in terms of their identity and who they are. Then I went into project management, went into the health sector, sort of helped develop Māori models of healthcare in the health sector. So I was there from 17 years, working in the health sector to bring to Māori, sort of to the forum of the health sector, the Māori framework, the Māori view, the Māori way of life, into the Pākehā framework, the Pākehā way of life, and providing that as a model of healthcare and support to our people to achieve the level of optimum wellness and health at all levels. So I've been, and then I was a senior cultural advisor for the Bay of Plenty District Health Board. So I've been there for some time working in cultural programs, empowering our Māori Pākehā in terms of the history of the area, Māori ceremonies, customs and practices, and really cultural knowledge so that people can not be afraid of being in a Māori setting, on maraes, at tangis, because a lot of our patients that are in the hospital, we have 2,500 staff when I was working there, so most of the staff went through these training packages to help shift and change their perspective on Māori beliefs and values, particularly when we've got 43% of Māori population here, and supporting the models of Māori approach towards health and also the clinical approach towards health. I also was involved with council 1992 as a younger Pouroto, and was inspired to, there was a rock in the middle, so there is a rock in the middle of town called Pouroto Ngaropo, and there used to be a canoe there long ago, and it was a historical one that they used in the landing of the Mātātua canoe in 1951, and after that celebration the canoe was put in the centre of town. So my grandmother, when I was 7 in 1978, told me that canoe is yours, Moko, you got to get that back for us. I said, what, me? Are you sure that's our canoe? I don't know, Ruko. And then what I did was it opened my mind to then find out the roles and functions of council. And so in 1992, that's when I became quite motivated and interested to find out how council actually works, from the mayor's position to the councillors, CEO, and the senior management, and then the staff. And I really enjoyed accessing all the research in the museum and the archives, and researched about this waka, wrote a proposal to council, requested it back. I was only young at those days, and presented it to the mayor at the time, Don Herdman, and they were moved, and they actually gave the canoe back. So that was one of the first projects that I had in terms of finding out about council and whether or not council was somewhere that I wanted to be. And absolutely yes, it is. So I was part of that whole learning process for myself, and from there I had the late Mayor Colin Hammond support me. I was at a meeting one day and I wasn't agreeing with the rates too high. I was asking to put the rates down, and this is the reason why we don't get enough services down in Matata. A lot of the services are going to one place, but we should be having equal access to the services right across the region. And he said, "You've got a big mouth. You might be good to consider, one day being a councillor." So I kept that in my heart, and he directed and invited me, as did Bob Byrne, one of the former mayors who recently passed. And they gave me the strength and the conviction and courage. Also my Māori elders, particularly Ching Tutua and Charlie Verko from Ngāti Awa and other tribes I belong to, inspired me to think about, actually, I think I can and I will be committed to making change for Māori and for Pākehā and for all our cultures, and creating a bridge of diversity. We all have our differences, but we can still be unified as a community on issues that impact on us all, but what's better for everyone in terms of the whole community as a whole. And that includes, ruatoki, waimana, tane atua. That includes, maunga pohatu, ruatahuna, kalatia, minginui, te whaiti, murupara, waiohau, te teko, oh, beautiful place. That's my ancestors are from there. Onepu as well, Matata, Manawahe, Otakiri, Awakiri, Otamarakau, and of course Paparoa, out to Matakerepu, to Kōti Road, Ohiwa, Ohope, Whakatane. So, my heart is here in the district where I'm from, and I've become a senior cultural advisor to many different organisations within our town. In council, I was a senior cultural advisor for many, many years, supporting the cultural representation of council with Māori, council in openings and functions, the heritage trail and sites that we have. You know, you've been to Muriwai's Cave. There's the history there written in Māori and English. I was part of supporting that. Puketapu Pa site, I was the Māori English history there. Te Tahi's Rock, Te Pāpaka, Wairere Falls. So council has always been something that's important to me, but I also believe that we have to, with the new council moving forward, then we have to ensure that there's a real living connection to our youth, that our youth have, you know, even though they're young, they're vibrant, they're innovative, they're funny, they're exciting, they bring a fresh pair of eyes, and that view, that perspective is important. So you know, my kids remind me of that all the time. And as a grandfather, you know, my mokopuna always remind me about their view, their thoughts, and it's always included in family discussions, decisions that we make. And I've been appointed a tribal representative of my marae Ramoko, Te Tāwera Hapu, and I've had the privilege of working on the Ngāti Awadunanga Authority since 1992 till now. And I was appointed a Justice of the Peace at a very young age, 24 I think, marriage celebrant. So these things are important in leadership. You know, it's all about doing your time, working hard, taking the views on of all our people, not just Māori, but everyone. And so I'm able to provide a reo rua, you know, Māori and English, Māori and Pākehā worldview, and the things that I do. I've also have been an international representative for us, for Whakatane, with the head commissioner in London recently, Sir Jerry Mataparai. He was the former Governor General. When we had an exhibition of some of our taonga, you know, our Māori artefacts over there, part of the oceanic raising of our consciousness, of our knowledge and history and traditional art forms of our taonga, Māori artefacts, Polynesian artefacts, oceanic artefacts. So it was a great honour to be able to do that in terms of being part of the international forum, travelling around to different places as a cultural representative for my district, Whakatane, for our people here of New Zealand, and again sort of making the connection between Māori and Pākehā. The most important thing, of course, I also was recently appointed General Manager for Māori Television, and I took that position up, and I learned a lot in terms of how we deal with people, how we need to have real meaningful relationships, promoting values that look at the importance of people within the work that we do, the organisation of Māori Television, how we get more content on television and the multi-platforms which reflects our communities in which we live. So I also was on the International World Indigenous Broadcasting Forum and travelled overseas as well, and was a part of making an international contribution towards Indigenous peoples and the way that we view our content and what we put up on, you know, like on our social media, you know, whether it be Twitter, whether it be Facebook, whether it be website, but also what's on television and what we see and what we feel, and make sure that it reflects the spirit of our communities and real sort of issues that bring to life, what's really happening out there, the truth. So that's really important. Those things that I value. I've been, and I would like to acknowledge my mum, my dad, my brother who's passed recently, my best friend, Awaniarangi Black, my kids, my children, and those that support me now in terms of where I am and my pursuit for being considered as a mayoral candidate. So, this is where I am at the moment, and I feel very privileged and pleased to be part of the process and all the candidates that have put their names forward. For my 28 years of service, this year I was in the Queen's Honours and received the New Zealand Order of Merit from the Queen of England, well, Prime Minister, and New Zealand recognising my contribution to Māori and recognising my contribution also to governance. So that's just a little bit about me, Pouroto.
Yeah, we're just going to be passing up and forward. Alrighty, so I think you've already told us what you're passionate about. And but what is your fondest memory?
My fondest memory is actually it's a recent project that's happened recently here in Kopeopeo as part of the Kopeopeo youth, where I was part of supporting development of a mural. And the mural which is here reflects the aspirations of our youth, because really we need to, future council needs to make sure that the youth's aspirations are acknowledged, that the youth's direction of what they want, where they are, needs to be understood. And so to bring a lot more meaning through the community here, they had the development of these murals, and Kopeopeo project looked at that, and I was part of that. So the history of Kopeopeo and how it got its name was, there was a tohunga called Tetahi. He was feared by many. He was taken to Whakaari, and he came back on the back of a whale, they say, and was misunderstood. But he also brought quite a colourful history to the area because of his knowledge and his understanding of the past, the weather elements, the history that was given to him through his ancestors, and he could sense and know the feeling of the people. And so he had a special trip to, Mokorua Gorge, not far from here, near Hillcrest. Yeah. And he went and placed two guardians there, two lizards. He recited a prayer, bang, and struck his taiaha on the ground, boom, and it formed all the waterways. So there's Wainui, Te Whara, there's Kopeopeo, and so that Kopeopeo and the river flow is the theme really that binds all the families, all the members of our community, the different services here like we've got in Kopeopeo, the hairdressers, the place where we get our food from, New World, the local Salvation Army, the hospital, Māori, Pākehā, where we live, and it brings everyone together as recognising the history, recognising sort of the past, recognising the kaitiaki and the different environmental places that connect to our community. And then the symbolism of the mural here, it recognises the connection through the whale, the tohora, the connection to the octopus, and the connection to the hammerhead shark, and the waterways, and how that links us to each other. So that's been, for me, and recently, for me, a real sort of passion, and being proud to be part of that with our youth, our rangatahi, because they're the future leaders of tomorrow for us in our community here in Whakatane.
Who is someone you admire or look up to?
Yeah, that's a really good question, because there's so many different people we could admire and look up to. One of the people that I admire and look up to is my mother. And my mother would probably be quite shy right now, because my mum is very humble, and my mum doesn't like being talked about. She's just a person that gets in and does things. But I've got to mention my mum, because without my mum, I'm nothing. My mum gave me life. Through her I was able to be born. Through her and my father I was able to have life, and the connections that I have in terms of who I am today. So I acknowledge the strong leadership of my mum, therefore the strong leadership of women and who they are and what they represent. My mum's very humble. She is also very caring. I think that's a good quality about a lot of things that we need to remind ourselves in terms of who we are. And my mum reminds me, brings me back down to earth, about what's important. So, I mean, my mum is caring because she's always taught us, if people are hungry, give them a kai. If people are hurt or they're really scared and they need support, then you need to awhi and support them and give. My mum's also gives without asking anything in return, and that's the principles that I live by. Also standing firm on issues, and being straight up and honest about things, and being courageous when you need to be, but also being humble also when you need to be as well. I've learned from my mother that you've got to be a hard worker, that you've got to, you can't talk and do nothing, you've got to walk the talk. That's something that I've learned. Hei paenga mo te iwi, what we do is not for us individually, but what we do is actually for everybody else. And my mum does that all the time. She loves and embraces people. She treats everyone just as they're part of her extended family. And those are the principles that are important. Integrity, how you approach things, always be respectful to everyone, never hurt anybody, be courageous, be strong and firm in everything that you do, but be fair, be caring. But actually, one of the things I admire most about my mother is she has a lot of aroha. Her name is Amohaere Tangitu, I have to, and aroha means having love in your heart for everybody. That, even though I'm Māori, she's showing us that you embrace Pākehā. Even though we're Māori, you embrace Indians. If you're Māori, you embrace the Pacific nations. Even though we're Māori, we embrace the Asian communities, because these are the principal communities that we live here. Even though we're Māori, I'm a proud New Zealand Pākehā. Absolutely proud New Zealand Pākehā. So these are the values that I've been raised with my mother and also with my great-grandfather. So I was able to learn the old traditions and knowledge of my ancestors, and I was privileged that they transmitted that to me as a young person. They gave me the solid foundation to be the person that I'm trying to aspire to be. Am I there? No. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. No way. But with the strength of the role modelling of because leadership starts at home. If you can't lead your own house, if you can't lead your own family, you can't lead anybody. And my mum has always said to me, you've got to always start at home with your family, with your parents, with your children, because that is the core of who you are. So that's the reason why I have a love and support with everyone in terms of who I interact with. I can, the biggest challenge, Mum said to me one day, you're going to find it quite hard with that tamoko on your face. I said, why? Well, people won't understand you. I said, well, yeah. But this tradition was also, my mother supported me with this, to revive and to bring back the ancient traditions of my ancestors. That is this history and the stories, the knowledge of genealogy, the migration of our canoes in waka. I'm now an established cultural expert in my field. And I say that humbly. I don't say that in any way to be conceited, because that's not how I've been brought and raised up. But I'm just trying to be honest. And this is me. This is Pouroto as I speak from my heart. And so that's the most important thing that I've learned from my great-grandfather, my mum, but Amohaere is the backbone of who I am. But my heart is with my kids, with my youngest, Hine Te Ariki, and my oldest one, Langipare. So I'm very blessed and very lucky to have a role model in my own home that starts leadership for me, starts there.
Oh, yes. So, who are the youth of Kopeopeo to you?
Well, as I mentioned, the youth of Kopeopeo are all the youth that live here, that go to our schools, that reside here, that are in Awatapu, that are in Douglas Street, that are here, everywhere. So they are the, well, there's a saying, ka pu teruha ka hao te rangatahi. So the big challenge is really a lot of our youth in Awatapu. And that's an area where a lot of people won't go. So I actually lived in Awatapu even when I was elected councillor. So in 2010, I did go for the mayoralty first time, and man, that was a really good experience. I was really blessed to be part of that. I learnt a lot, what not to do and what to do better. But I did manage to get elected as a councillor, so I decided that if I'm going to understand the community, the youth of Kopeopeo, you can't understand a people unless you go and live amongst them. And because most of them are my people, they're our people, they're Māori, and they're young, and they like to do things quite differently. They're like Maui. They like to be haututu sometimes. So I lived 7 years in Awatapu, 7. So I was there and witnessed everything. And as a councillor, I tried to be part of change, to help our youth, to redirect our youth. And there's still ongoing because, there's a lot of prejudice against some of the youth in Awatapu who really don't understand. I don't agree in any way with the culture of gangs and what's happened in the past. What I do agree with is that we need to find better and positive ways to educate, help, shape and shift through the guidance also of our gangs and us together with our youth to strengthen our youth for the future. So the Kopeopeo youth are all our youth that live here and are our future of tomorrow. So they're all important. Our rangatahi, our youth that live here.
Do you think it's important for everyone to vote?
Oh, look, council was established in 1882, and our rights to vote give us the right to be part of the vision and decision making. Give us the rights to be able to exercise our right to who we want to lead us. And I think that's really the issue about good leadership. About good leadership is to do with making sure that we know what we're voting for, why we're voting, making sure that those values are basically based upon integrity, respect, love, care, unity, making hard decisions where we need to, but at the same time, making sure that it's fair right across the board. So, that's really important in terms of us moving forward together. And I see the new council as an opportunity for us, and we need to go back to the basics. We need to go back and say, hey, why are these potholes not done? Hey, why haven't we beautified Kopeopeo more and given more resources and to support, the beautification? And we need more murals. We need more places for our youth so that they can actually do the things that they need to do, to express themselves. To when we come into Kopeopeo, then we can actually say, yeah, the way to the spirit of our youth and the community can be felt, and that we're accountable to you as our youth, and we're accountable to our communities, and so that we don't have the same old. If we want real change, if we want to make sure that we're accountable, that the needs of our community are recognised and actually done, then we need to vote. So look, all of you out there, we must vote, be part of that process and vote with knowledge and wisdom and vote wisely. Vote for positive change and what's best for our community as a whole.
So that is all the questions that we have for this time, I think. And thank you so much for what you've been saying. I loved it. Do you have anything else you'd like to say?
I see this as a journey, a canoe, as it rows through the river, as we row it together in unity. Every step that we take in terms of the canoe will make a contribution to change in the future. I'd like to say that it's a privilege to be part of the candidates that are standing for the mayoralty. I respect them all. I have no issues with no one. Mine is just to put myself there in the best way that I can. Mine is to also present another perspective in terms of why I believe that I also can be a good mayor for our district, that I'm also can be considered to be a good councillor. And I've already been a councillor in the past, but, that doesn't mean anything. We always need to learn and listen and change. That's the problem. You've been a councillor 15 years doesn't mean that you've improved. You can be a good, effective councillor and only be elected in a year. But it's actually the quality of what we do, really, in terms of what the people want, really is the determining factor. It's not how long we're there at all. It's what we can contribute, and if it comes from the heart, there's policies, there's money, that's all in the LTP. That's easily followed. But if it's not the heart of what the people want, then why am I standing in the first place? I stand for the power of our people, what's right for our community, and I like to wish all the other candidates well, and I'm certainly going to do my best in everything that I do in representing our communities throughout Whakatane. Thank you for the opportunity today. Kia ora.